Fall was good. We got a lot done. I think we probably made as much progress inside the locker room as we did anywhere, integrating, I think, 16 new players with our returning guys, so that was big. That's a large number of first-year guys in your program, but the returning guys did a great job of kind of showing them the ropes and welcoming those guys to the program. We got a number of freshmen adjusted to the academic culture of college and got them, I think, at least aware of some of the adjustments necessary to play this year and contribute, which we're counting on several of them to do. And I thought, for the most part, it went exactly as we hoped it would. I think we got a lot stronger during the fall. A lot of guys made good improvements to their bodies that I think will show up over the course of the season. We were a tough team last year, but come to the end, I think we were worn out a little bit, and the long season will do that to you. So we hope to be stronger so that we can be a little bit more at the top of our game when it matters most. And we did well in the classroom. So I think the fall was a great start to the year. We were ready to answer the challenges, and I think that leads to confidence heading into the spring. But on the field, we returned several good players at positions that are important. I think we established a fair amount of roles early on through fall practice and saw good improvement in the month of November after the fall that made the competition for the remaining spots even better. So it was a good fall, and it's been a good camp to this point. We've got a lot of work in, despite the weather being a little bit tricky at times. But the Smith Center and the indoor facilities we do have, we've been able to stay on point. So feel real good about our team. And after Saturday night in our banquet, I think the team feels real good about the energy and the excitement about a season that's just right around the corner.
Wasn't out there a lot, but a few times. And one of the things I really liked, you've got some veteran players, like you mentioned, but you saw a lot of camaraderie between the veteran players and the younger players. I mean, a great appreciation that they understand these young guys can really help with maybe finishing off a Louisville in a regional and so forth.
Well, that's a compliment to these guys. It's a compliment to them reaching out and making the new players feel at home and welcomed and integrating them into our team so that they can contribute right away. As these guys will tell you, the first hurdle you have to get over when you're new to a place is feeling accepted and feeling welcomed. And once you get past that hurdle, you can kind of dive into competition and realize, hey, it's just baseball. You know, it's still the same game that I played well enough to get here. So that's really about these guys. It's about them taking some leadership roles on our team. It's about them owning their program and making sure that every guy that walks into it is welcomed in. And so I think that's a good sign. It's a sign of some of these kids, guys like Saul now in his fourth year, Vince in his fourth year. It's Tyler and Zach's third year, of them really understanding now what this is about. And it's about not only individual development, but about our team's culture. So it's really, I think, just a byproduct of what these kids learned last year together that they extended into the fall. So we are very proud of our freshman class and the transfers that are in it. It's a good group. And combined with these returning guys, we have a nice balance.
Obviously a big loss in the weekend pitching staff. How have things been shaken out with that weekend staff?
Well, you know, losing Jason, obviously Jason had a great season. He was very solid every Friday night and pitched a number of quality ball games, but that's part of any strong programs. That's just part of what happens. Good players move on and others emerge. And so I'm very confident that guys like Tyler and Vince will build on the years they had last year. Robinette started a lot of games last year and won some important games down the stretch. And guys inside the program like John Perrin have stepped forward. Alex Hackerott stepped forward, and a number of first-year guys that have really good arms. So we'll offset the loss of all the good players from last year by guys getting chances to emerge. And that's certainly what great programs do, and that's what we're striving to do. We want to get to the point where every year there's 6 or 7 really good players that move on to the next level, and there's 6 or 7 more that come right in. So we'll work to replace all the guys we lost in different ways, but I'm very confident in the guys we have, and I'm excited to see what these guys do with the opportunity that lies ahead.
Who are some of those new guys you see playing a big role in that weekend staff?
Well, I think, roles right now are still being developed as we get guys in shape. You got to remember we didn't start school until the 13th, so we're basically 3 weeks in at this point. We're just now getting to where I think you guys feel like you're in pretty good shape, right? Feel good about where you're at. So as we've gotten the guys in shape, now we're starting to dial in their their stuff and get them ready for game outings. But obviously, Tyler's a guy that we believe in very strongly. He pitched excellent the last half of the season when his toe healed up. So a guy like Tyler, you're going to see out there. Robinette's another guy that I expect it to be in there early. John Perrin's made a big step forward. And then the new guys, Thomas Hatch, Garrett Williams, Tyler Buffett, those three freshmen threw really well during the fall, as did a couple other guys, Matt Wilson and Trey Cobb, Blake Battenfield. Those young arms are all quality young arms. But I think as we go, Rob will get those guys their first touch on the mound, and we'll get those guys into the fire as soon as we can so that they're kind of ready to take on a more prominent role as we go. But it's still a little bit early to really pinpoint when someone's going to throw yet. I still think we got a lot of work to do, but the games are right around the corner, and we start to dial in these last 10 days before we start.
You always talk about being strong with a baseball team up the middle, defensively, catcher all the way. The move with Donnie, where he's stronger and feeling better and healthier than he was a year ago, over to shortstop. Talk about that.
Well, I think it's a position he's played a lot growing up. He probably had more of an adjustment going to second last year than he will sliding back to shortstop. But we just felt like it was the right fit. He is a stronger athlete as a sophomore. He's played the position good. He's played actually extremely well in the 3 weeks since we've been back. So we feel good about that. We've got a very, very good option behind him with Craig McConaughey, who defensively is an outstanding defender. And so we've got some options there. But I think looking at just putting the right guys in the right spots to build a lineup in a defense, like you said, that's strong up the middle, that Donovan and Tim are the two guys we'll start with in the middle infield. And, you see where things go. Last year we didn't really go into the year thinking Randy McCurry was our shortstop as much as we thought he was a pitcher and an infielder, and over time he proved to be our shortstop and a very good one. So we'll give the guys opportunities where we think they're right, and we'll kind of see what the game tells us as we go. But Donnie shortstop's been a good transition.
Who else is in play at some of those up the middle positions that Robert's talking about?
Well, I'd say Tim Arakawa right now is definitely won the second base job. He's a very good player. He defensively is good at second and handles the bat well, runs the bases well. So those two guys will hold down the middle for now, and feel real good about them. Catching's a big spot as we graduated Victor Romero last year, who I personally believe these guys would probably agree that was a huge part of our team, more from his spirit and passion for the game than anything. But he played really, really well last year, and the pitchers can tell you he was a very unselfish player, very giving of his energy to the pitching staff from that standpoint. So Brian Case and Robbie Rojas have done a nice job there, and Zach has worked back there as well, and is definitely an option for us behind the plate. And then I think in the outfield, we've got really a really good collection of quality athletes in the outfield. Saul, obviously last year, was our leadoff hitter and center fielder. He's worked at both center and left. Corey Hassel's a better player than a year ago. Through hard work and maturity, he's definitely in the mix out there, along with guys like Gage Green and Cornell and freshman and Ryan Sluter. So we've got some really talented athletes in the outfield, and we'll find ways to make sure they're all contributing. But I like the athletes we have in the middle of the field.
Last year you looked at Gage behind the plate. What was it about Zach that made you think that he might fit back there?
Well, Zach and Gage are kind of in the same boat. They both have caught some. It's not their primary positions, but positions they can play. And it's to have that depth and have the options to know kind of if we get in this situation, who would be the guy we'd look to. And with a couple injuries at home plate last year with Victor's finger, we had a couple other boys that started the year in the mix behind the plate. One had a concussion and couldn't play, and next thing you know, Gage says, "I'll catch." And that's all you got to hear from Gage. And he jumped in there, and he did it. And Zach's the same way. He said, "Hey, if you need me back there, I've caught some in high school." So it's just kind of knowing your roster a little bit and knowing what your options are if certain things happen. You have to be prepared for anything going into the year. But we feel good. Zach's got a powerful arm back there, and he would do it in a heartbeat if that's what the team needed. So it's good to kind of have some flexibility.
Got a year under your belt. Just how do you feel about the direction of the program, and how important was it to have a successful first year to build on?
I feel very good. Every day we're looking to get better. I mean, I feel good because of these guys. I believe in our players. I love the commitment to Oklahoma State that lies within them. I'm excited about the kids that we've recruited. I'm very appreciative of the fan support that we've seen. I think Saturday night, as these guys can tell you, was a lot of fun for us as a group to see the excitement and hear people talk about how much they're looking forward to coming out to the ballpark this year. Season tickets are up. I mean, all the little things that tell you the interest is growing. And to see all of, I think, over 125 alumni, former baseball players return for the weekend to meet these kids and support them and really endorse their support of these guys. They're all positive steps for where we're trying to go. But this is all about the players. It is. It always will be. And our coaching staff is thrilled that we're 10 days away from a new challenge. But I'm very comfortable and feel real good about the direction we're heading. We're by no means where we want to be, but we're getting a little closer every day, and that's really all you can hope for.
Along the lines of that direction, a lot of people in college baseball, I mean, just reading some of the stories, kind of surprised how quickly you and your staff got out there and really got the recruiting going into this school again.
Well,
The reception you got on the road.
yeah, and a lot of that goes to credit to Marty and Rob for the hustle that it takes to get into recruiting circles. Anytime you go after top players, you're gonna go against people that have a lot to offer, and I think they did a great job when we were initially hired in middle of June, I guess it was, of signing a great group of players in basically 3 months. They had half of June, July, and August before we started visiting guys and signing those kids up. So just I think their energy and their work ethic, I think getting kids to campus and letting them see how special Oklahoma State is and sharing with them our thoughts about where we're going. And as I always say, these guys are our best recruiters, because if kids come on campus and they're made to feel welcome and these guys believe in what we're doing, that really helps. So we think we have something here that's really worth taking a look at, and we try to share that with people every chance we get. But it's a good, solid nucleus of players that are coming in. And but I'm really proud of what these guys, as players that were here in the program when we were hired, their willingness to embrace us and buy into what we're trying to do. And these guys have been outstanding. So we'll keep looking to bring the very best players from all over. Certainly right here at home, we'll start there and kind of work our way out. But we have recruited well, and I think that's something you'll see us continue to work real hard at.
Tyler and Vince, if you guys will, talk about what it's like playing for Coach Walton, and maybe what area of your game he's improved the most, what he brings.
Coach Walton, all the coaches really have a lot of experience, and they've been around the block quite a few times. They all have championships, and Coach Walton really works with us mostly on the mental aspect of the game and hitting our spots. He says the key to pitching is location, location, location.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, for me personally, he's also helped with my mechanics, getting me online, working down. And he works with a lot of pitchers like that too. He gets everybody sound in their mechanics, and when you get your mechanics sound, it makes it a lot easier to command the baseball. So he's done a good job with that, and with me and with everybody. So
I feel like after the season that we had last year as a pitching staff and as a team, most of the new guys didn't have a problem buying into what the coaches were trying to get us to do, whether it's hitting or pitching. I mean, they just do a really good job making us feel comfortable and working with us and making sure that we're healthy and ready to compete.
So when
Josh,
you say
Vince was big out of the pen last year. Do you see him staying in that role or possibly getting some opportunities to start this year?
Well, I think he was really dynamic for us, because we could use him in the fourth inning in a jam, and he could pitch us to the seventh. We could use him in the seventh and eighth. We could use him to close games. I think, Vinny, you did just about everything, didn't you?
yeah,
Had a remarkable year, and that's not easy to find. It takes a pretty durable, special guy that can handle different roles like that and pitch out of jams. I don't know that you ever came into the game out of the windup. You always came into the game pitching out of the stretch with runners on. So he was awfully good there. It'd be our hope that we could keep him there, because I think anytime you can shorten the game with a quality bullpen, it's a great place to start. So very capable of starting if we needed him to, but I really like and feel like he was kind of built for that role. He was outstanding. So we'll look to see kind of how the rest of the staff shakes up and complements one another. But I'd say ideally we'd like to see Vinny in that same spot if we could.
Vince, do you relish that fact that they trust you in any role like that? Is that sort of a cool thing that you're out there in the pen and you could be called at any moment?
I mean, yeah, it's a cool thing. I mean, you can't do that without your infield and your outfield behind you. I mean, when you go in there and you attack a zone, you need someone behind you that's capable of playing the position. They are great at it. So, I mean, you got to give props into your outfield and your infield, and even your catcher. I mean, they're with you right there the whole way through it. So, yeah, I mean, it is nice.
A lot of guys in the bullpen have a routine. You know, a closer knows when to start getting ready. What's your routine? Because you could be called at any moment.
Just be mentally prepared through the whole game. Is like Rob talks about that a lot. Being locked in every pitch with the guy on the mound and with the people in the field. So that's pretty much my routine, is try to stay locked in through the whole entire game, and that's what the whole pitching staff does. So they're all ready also.
And I'm sure as a starter it makes it easier, you know, knowing you don't have to force your pitches because, you know, you got someone behind you if you're having an off day.
Yeah, I mean, having a guy like Vince and the bullpen that we had last year and the bullpen that we're capable of having this year, it's I mean, it's nice knowing that no matter what, they got your back, just like the whole entire team does. I feel like that's what we've been working on a lot lately inside the locker room, is building the best team that we can possibly be. And I mean, although I might not have my best stuff every day, I'm gonna do my best to compete and give our team a chance to win.
Tyler, with Vince's versatility, there's still, especially when you get into late April, into May, and then on into postseason, how deep a staff is really important. With the new guys, I mean, can you see this being a even deeper staff than what you guys had a year ago?
Yes, there's definitely potential to have a much deeper staff. We have a lot of good arms, great arms, really, that just, I feel as the season progresses and they get outings under their belt, I feel like the staff will progress and be very successful as long as we keep working.
We're probably, at least, I'd say, comfortably 10 to 12 pitchers deep that we think are guys that can definitely go out there and get us some outs, and that's a nice thing to have. I think there were times last year where we might have relied on Vinny a little too much, and we probably worked about 7 or 8 guys towards the end. And you know, if you get into that losers bracket in a long tournament, you need more than 7 or 8 guys that you can turn to. And when we got to game 4, I guess, of the regional, we were a little bit out of gas, and that showed up. So there's more guys now that I think are, granted, some of them are unproven, but everyone's unproven before they prove themselves. So you can't be afraid of that first moment when a guy emerges, you know. So we believe there's a lot of guys that we've been able to add that can stretch our pitching staff out a little bit and give us more options as we navigate through the 4 and 5 game weeks.
I know I asked the question about 20 times last year, Josh, but I'm going to ask it again with a twist. Dolsky, because I was always intrigued about seeing him out there, and then you've got even a taller pitcher, a 6'8" pitcher in Freeman. Can you talk about those two guys? Can they get out there where they can just intimidate?
Big Mike Freeman's a 6'8" lefty who really is he's fun to watch. He's got a chance to get some outs. He's got one of those guys that every time he throws, he gets better. And to see a lefty that's in the upper 80s with that kind of height and leverage is unique. You don't see a lot of those guys. And he's got a split finger, which is a unique pitch too. You don't see that pitch quite often, especially from a lefty. So he's very much a guy that you could see. And Nick is still trying to get himself back into kind of the form he had last fall. But we do have a couple of guys with some height there. And it's nice to have different looks. Anytime you can show the other team a variation of release points and deliveries and pitches, it makes it much more difficult to zone in and hit you. So it's nice to have some different looks, but we do definitely have a bigger staff. We were small in places, nothing wrong with small guys, right, Saul? But we did have a number of 5'9" pitchers, and now we're a little bit bigger out there. But yeah, we've got some different looks to throw at people for sure.
Saul, you were nodding your head when Josh was talking about the freshman pitchers. What have you seen from them, you know, from the field and from the plate in the fall and here lately?
They have good stuff. A lot of them bring it up there, low and mid-90s. Good off speed, which you don't see in many freshmen. Buffett, I think, has one of the best sliders. Hatch has an unbelievable changeup that he's shown here recently. So, I mean, they can pitch.
So I remember talking to you the day that Josh was hired. How's the program feel different now? now that you've been, going here in the senior year?
A lot different actually. I mean, it was kind of on the rocks or whatever everybody was saying, but now it's just, I mean, going to that banquet last night, I got to talk to the alumni and people around baseball, and they were just like, we love where this program's headed. I think it's just catching momentum. I mean, we had a good season last year, and they liked the way we competed, and they could see we were a team, and we've kind of built on that even more this year. I think we have a great group of guys that love to compete, so I think it's headed in the right direction.
Zach, how would you describe yourself as a defensive player, and where do you feel like your home is on the field?
Well, I feel, back in the outfield, I just started playing the outfield, my freshman year here. I came in as a catcher, and, now I've been in the outfield, which, I really like right field. But, I mean, we have a very talented outfield. I mean, we have, Saul that can play center. I mean, we have a lot of guys that we have a very talented outfield, very, very fast. We're very deep in every position. And we have 2 or 3 guys that can play right, center, and left. So, I think that anybody at any moment can go out there and play at a very high level, no matter what position that they're in.
Right, defense is important, but you're an extremely fun hitter to watch when you get into that groove. And you got into that groove for a good portion of last season. Have you learned more about being smarter and how you can stay in that groove? Because like when you're going, there's nothing prettier to watch than your at bats.
Yeah, one thing that we really worked on this fall as a team is the mental aspect. I mean, like Tyler was saying, as Rob preaches about the mental aspect of pitching, the hitters, we go in, we sit down, we talk about approach, we talk about what we look for when we're up there. Certain zones that you're going to look for, off speed, fastball. So it's kind of just going in there and trying to eliminate the bad swings, the swinging at balls, swinging at stuff in the dirt. Just trying to become a more complete hitter and allowing yourself to be free mentally up there, so you're not thinking about mechanics. All you're thinking about is, how can I move this runner over? Am I going to use, what kind of skill am I going to have to use right here to get the run in? So I think just trying to focus in on a lot of what we talked about this fall and even this spring already is the mental aspect and allowing yourself not to think too much when you're up there and just kind of trust the work that you've put in the entire year.
Both of you and Saul, real quick, talk a little bit about when you guys are going through your practice routine and the way Josh and the other coaches kind of challenge you guys. When you're taking swings in the cage, it's not free swinging. You're asked to do a lot of things through the course of it. Talk about how that improves you as a hitter and position, as far as different situations and games.
I think he talks a lot about intent. And I mean, if you're not focused, then you're not getting anything out of your swings. So we work on we're not just out there swinging and getting exercise, everything. We're working on something, a certain skill every time we swing the bat. So when you get in there, I mean, it's the same thing. You're just like, okay, I've done it 100 times in the cage. So I think it just allows you to be free.
Yeah, and I mean, even in scrimmages, what we saw is that Rob calls the pitches, and he threw me about 20 curveballs in a row completely in the dirt because he said he was tired of watching me swing at him. And so I started laughing. I was like, I got to figure something out. And so eventually I became more patient when I was up there and allow myself to use my eyes more, because that's what we talked about a lot this fall, and we talked about even a lot this spring, is allowing your eyes to adjust and not swinging at those bad pitches that are up or in the dirt or away or too far in. You have to allow yourself to see the ball, track it, whatever location or whatever speed it is.
That's something you had to deal with after the first couple of weeks when pitchers realized they had to start throwing a curveball?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's going to have an approach to different hitters. Like Saul, I mean, he peppers the left side of the field. He's an amazing leadoff hitter. Donnie's a great bunter. And so they have to know the different hitters that we have on this team and how they're going to have to pitch them. And for me, I get a lot of off-speed pitches. And so it's being able to be disciplined enough to where I can help this team and, not be an easy out. And I have to be more competitive up there.
What was your first impression of Big 12 pitchers and kind of guys you'd face week after week?
The amount of off speed that I saw, especially my freshman year and last year, was the amount of off speed that I saw. Because in high school, a lot of guys didn't really have very good off speed. And when you see, the Texas and the TCU's, the very talented arms that they have coming in and out of the bullpen, you're going to have a lot of talented arms out there. So it's really trusting what you've worked so hard for, and trusting the guys that are in front of you and behind you to, as long as you do your job, that they're going to do their job behind you.
Josh, we talked about defensive middle. What about Tanner? How is he looking after a full year of getting to field at first?
He looks good. He looks good. He looks like a player that's gotten more comfortable now to standing 100 feet away from home plate instead of 300 feet. He's used to the outfield, so it's a different reaction. So I think his reactions have adjusted well, and he's a nice big target over there. He's a good athlete. So Tanner's a gamer. He's one of these guys that we look to, that when the game's on the line, you want up there, and I think his work ethic and athletic ability, he'll play first base well.
Open for anybody, talk about the schedule, and I know that there's a trip to Arlington to start off with and some home games, but, I mean, I'd be cranked about going to Surprise, Florida and down there in spring training, but
Yeah.
can you talk about the schedule?
Well, I don't know how much these guys have looked at it. We haven't even really talked about it a whole lot since we've just been kind of day-to-day lately, just focusing, but it's a good schedule for us, Robert. I think it's a great schedule for our fans. It's good that we'll open up in Arlington in a good 3-game tournament to kind of kick this thing off. We come back, I think, for 5 or 6 games at home to kind of dig back in a little bit before going to Surprise. You mentioned we'll go out to warm, sunny Arizona, where we're going to get 4 quality ball games in at a beautiful facility. Arizona State's on the docket there. I believe it's Gonzaga, Manhattan, and Santa Clara. And then we come home for a really quality home stretch. We've got University of San Diego coming to Stillwater, which that's a perennial top 25 team, then National Player of the Year last year. So very, very talented team coming to Stillwater. Wichita State comes to town. And I think there's one other weekend in there. But then we roll into conference play, I believe, at Baylor. And Baylor's got a number of players back, and a very good conference schedule. And then Arizona State comes to town for 3 games. I think it's in May, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So to have 6 home games against top 25 perennial national teams like San Diego and Arizona State, the OU on-campus game will be fun. I think that'll be a fun sight to see our ballpark in a Bedlam setting, as well as down in Norman in a Bedlam setting. And then it's a more balanced schedule. Last year was a huge homestand early when the weather was a little testy. Now the home schedule's spread out a little bit more. I hope our fans will have a chance to get out and see these boys play. But it's a good schedule. I think we made every attempt to strengthen it, and we'll continue to do that year after year as we look to try to play the best teams possible and test ourselves and build up an RPI that gives us the opportunity to extend our season. And then,
Did you ever change your play NC State?
Hope not. Playing against your blood is not easy. That's not a whole lot of fun. But we're looking forward to a good schedule, a really good schedule. I think there's several challenges up and down that schedule. If you look at who the clubs are and where we play them, there's some challenges there. So it's gonna be a grind, but we're excited about it. That's where you learn about yourself, and it's where you emerge from some of the good things that happen on there. And certainly, as we've talked about, there's going to be some challenges. We're going to have some tough days, but we're preparing now on how we'll deal with those so that when they occur, we bounce back and we get right back on top of things. So feel real good about these guys, and like I said, it should be a challenging year, but a good year.
How about thoughts on just the Big 12 in general this year?
I think Big 12's good. I think it's going to bounce back from what was perceived to be a down year last year. You hear that a lot with 3 teams advancing to the postseason. I know Texas's roster is strong. I think they'll be right back at the top. TCU, team that was under 500 a year ago, has an excellent roster, very talented team. You have to tip your cap to K-State. They return a number of very good players from a team that won this conference a year ago. I wouldn't look past them at all. I think OU's got an excellent team coming back, a lot of players that were a big part of their success. And so, you look across, there's a number of very good teams, and we're gonna have our hands full, but we'll make sure every single time we suit up that we're ready. And we look forward to the competition. It's going to make us better, and I think in the end it'll be one of the top 3 conferences again in the country, like it has been in the past.